From the fantasy armchair, it is the Fantasy Tyrant. Hey there, fellow fantasy football freaks. Welcome back to the traveling fantasy armchair. This time, I'm in the nation's capital. And of course, I'm here at the Lincoln Memorial. Check out that fantasy armchair. Friggin' huge. Damn, all he needs is just like a big-ass mug of beer. Don't feed the slaves. Give them a friggin' beer for Christ's sake. Anyway, what a fucking wacky week one that was, huh? As a fantasy analyst, I hate week one. First and last weeks of the season are always the most unpredictable, and a lot of times the least like any of the other games of the season. But if you played this long enough, you know that as the season goes on, it all regresses back to the mean. Just maybe a few guys here and there tagging along that we didn't expect. Which guys are worth adding to our roster, and which guys are just first week wonder? Well, that's where this show comes in. I'm going to give you my top 10 waiver wire pickups for week 2, as well as a ton of honorable mentions. That way, I can help you weed through all this mess. And yeah, that's a lot to weed through, but that's why I'm here, to help you, so that you don't have to. If you like what you see, click the like button, hit subscribe if you haven't, because as soon as we hit that goal of 1,000 subs, I'm going to do that double grand prize giveaway for you. Ring that notification bell so you never miss an episode. And share this with everyone you know, even the mailman you suspect was doing your wife. I mean, there's no redheads on either side of your family, so how the fuck did she pop out of ginger? Anyway, enough bullshit, because you know what that song means. Yeah. It's time for my top 10 waiver wire pickups for week 2. Number 10, Gerald Everett. Finally, the Chargers moved on from the Beetlejuice look-alike Jared Cook, and now have a talented, previously underutilized tight end target for Justin Herbert in Gerald Everett. He did practically nothing for the Seahawks, as Russ Wilson doesn't tend to throw to the tight end, but Herbie ain't afraid to throw to him. As last season, he targeted tight ends on 21% of his throws. He targeted tight ends 9 times.
9 times?
9 times.
This past Sunday, and 4 of those targets went to Everett, who got 3 of them for 54 yards and a touchdown. Solid tight end fantasy line right there. About a third of the targets went to the tight ends in this game, and if Everett starts getting more of the lion's share of those tight end targets, he could be knocking on the door of tight end 1 production sooner than later. If you need depth at tight end, pick his ass up. Number 9, Romeo Doubs. Okay, so I guess he's gonna be the guy sooner than later for the Packers. In a game I know they wish they could forget, Doubs ended up with 4 receptions on 5 targets for 37 yards. Not a big stat line, I know. And yeah, Lazard will be back. But the connection between Doubs and Rodgers that was built up in the offseason, as well as Christian Watson clearly pissing Rodgers off with that long bob drop that should have been a touchdown reception, should not be ignored. If Rodgers is going to get back in gear, and as we've seen with previous seasons, a bad week 1 just lights a fire under his ass. And Doubs could end up being a flex player you're considering every week. Before you know it, he could be on everyone's list to pick up next week, so get ahead of the rest of your league and pick him up now. Number 8, Taysom Hill. Yeah, he's a thing, again. A hybrid QB tight end thing, again. A gadget guy thing, again. If Jameis Winston goes down, he takes over at QB. We're dealing with the old QB and the tight end slot issue, again. Remember when that caused the whole fantasy community to collectively shit its drawers in 2020? Yeah, get ready for that to be a thing again. Winston can't stay healthy. He almost got taken out of game 1, but came back in and did okay. But it's only a matter of time before Winston goes down and Hill's the guy. Yeah, technically Andy Dalton is the backup, but it's clear that the Saints have worked on option plays for Hill. We could see a quarterback by committee if Winston goes down, but I think Hill will get the more fantasy lucrative plays in that case. In the meantime, he's a viable option at tight end, a one-man superflex. He had 81 rushing yards and a touchdown on Sunday, scoring over 15 fantasy points in the process. It's obvious that, in no matter what capacity, the Saints still plan to use the fuck out of this guy. So he's worth adding to your roster, and could be worth even more down the line. Go get him! Number 7, Devin Duvernay. If you're a loyal member of the #Tyrant gang and been watching my content in the preseason, you know I have a lot of love for this kid. In fact, he's my double deep danger dive of the year at wide receiver. I've been on this guy for the past couple years, and finally, he's made his way to the starting lineup as the number 2 receiver behind Rashad Bateman. And in week 1, he outplayed the much-hyped Bateman, hauling in 4 of his targets for 54 yards and 2 touchdowns. No, I don't think that level of efficiency is sustainable, but it's clear that Lamar Jackson likes this guy, and for good reason. Duvernay can run routes, catch the ball masterfully, run after the catch. Guy's got it all and could develop into a valuable fantasy asset for your squad. I was telling you to pick up this guy and stash him in your draft. Did you listen? No? Then don't make the same mistake twice. Listen up this time.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
Bateman is the guy, but Duvernay is not far behind him. I like them both in fantasy this season, but you can't get Bateman off the waiver wire, so get Duvernay instead. He'll be a weekly flex option or better before you know it. Get him now, before it's too late. Number 6, Jalen Warren. I know Najee Harris says he's good to go, but I am super worried about that Liz Frank injury being aggravated in week 1. Based on the information I've seen from actual sports medicine doctors, I think it's something that's going to linger and bother Harris all season and eventually lead to his demise. Enter Jalen Warren. He was the only other running back to get a touch in the Steelers' offense this past week, and with the Steelers' defense being strong enough to keep the offense from being one-dimensional, if Harris goes down, Warren will be the guy and see a lot of work in a bell cow role in that offense. I think eventually Harris takes some time to heal his foot, and Warren becomes a viable RB2 on a weekly basis. If you are a Harris owner, he is a must-target waiver option this week, maybe even above everyone else. If you don't have Harris, he's still worth a stash if you got the room, either to use for yourself or to trade to the Harris owner and fleece that bastard. Quick note, if you find out that Harris is going to miss time week 2 and moving forward, Warren shoots up to the number 2 spot. Number 5, Jamal Williams. Picking the bones off of DeAndre Swift's production by vulturing touchdowns, Jamal Williams made James Conner proud. 11 attempts for 28 yards and 2 touchdowns. The most inefficient, efficient stat line I've ever seen. Wrap your head around that shit. Surprisingly only targeted twice, Williams did most of his damage in short yardage situations and snatched those 2 touchdowns away from Swift after Swift made some big plays to get down near the goal line. However, I expect Williams to be used a lot, and if the oft-injured Swift goes down at some point this season, he could be a solid RB2 option. He could end up being a poor man's James Conner in this offense, even if he isn't considered the red zone back. I do see him getting more usage in the passing game and in PPR. That will help him be a sustainable flex option. Definitely worth a pickup if you need some running back depth. Number 4, Jahan Dotson. We've been talking up this rookie all offseason, and this past Sunday, he delivered. 3 catches for 40 yards and 2 touchdowns, just like Duvernay. I don't expect this level of efficiency to sustain, but like Duvernay, I do expect his usage to be consistent. Dotson could be hot on the heels of the likes of Curtis Samuel and Scary Terry in the Washington Commanders offense in terms of target share production. Dotson played 59 of 68 snaps and ran 38 routes, second on the team to McLaurin. He caught what was effectively the game-winning touchdown, so we know this kid is clutch. This isn't just some one-game fluke. He's no one-and-done hussy like that bitch at your bar who you banged one night, but then straight-up ghosted your ass afterward. No, this guy's for real. This is a guy who could be a valuable asset for his team as well as your fantasy squad for years to come, but it looks like he isn't wasting any time to make an impact, so you shouldn't waste any time picking his ass up. If not him, take his teammate at number 3, Curtis Samuel. Hard to pick between these 2 Commander wide receivers, but Samuel's been chomping at the bit to be the gadget guy for this offense since his injury-riddled 2021 campaign, and he finally got his chance to shine, as we all knew he eventually would, this past Sunday. Dude was targeted 11 times, catching 8 for 55 yards and a touchdown, adding in 17 rush yards to boot. In PPR, there was a solid, top-end wide receiver 2 performance. He was clearly Carson Wentz's go-to guy, getting more targets than Scary Terry and Jahan Dotson combined. And while I don't expect that to be the case every week, I do expect that Curtis, while healthy, to be a solid flex or better option in fantasy as the go-to slot receiver for Washington. We've been waiting for this guy to live up to his hype as a gadget dude, and he's finally arrived. Lots of mouths to feed in Washington, but this one mouth deserves some special treatment. A little prime rib maybe? I don't know. What I do know is Curtis Samuel is finally what we hoped he'd be, so go get his ass. Number 2, Rex Burkhead. Listen, Dameon Pierce will be the bell cow back in Houston before the season's end. In fact, if you have some owners in your league already souring on him, go make a low-ball offer and see if you can't land him in a trade. But that doesn't mean you can ignore the fact that right now it's an RBBC and Rex is the Burkhead of this committee. Yeah, 1 episode into the season and I'm already falling back on dad jokes. Anyway, Burkhead rushed 14 times for 40 yards and caught 5 of his 8 targets for 30. No, neither stat line is exactly the mark of efficiency, but you gotta love his usage. He outsnapped Pierce by 30 with a 71% snap share, second only on the team to Brandon Cooks. And while I don't expect him to ever be the workhorse, and I do expect him to eventually lose out to Pierce by the season's end, For now, with somewhat short-term injuries to running backs Eli Mitchell and Najee Harris, some of you may need a fill-in until they get back, and I think Sexy Rexy could be the filler you need.
Hello, ladies!
Snatch him up! And my number one waiver wire pickup for week 2 is Jeff Wilson Jr. Eli Mitchell's gonna miss some time, and Wilson's the next man up for the Niners. Yeah, rookies Jordan Mason and Ty Davis Price will be in the mix as well, but Wilson will get the bulk of carries as long as Mitchell's down and Wilson is healthy. He's proven that he can be an efficient running back in the past. When he did start in the 2020 season, dude was a solid running back too. He was dealing with a logjam at the position last season, but as the clear-cut backup to Mitchell this year, Wilson will get a chance to continue being the fantasy viable option he was in the 3 games he started in 2020. The speed, elusiveness, grit, and pure talent is still there, and especially with a soft matchup at home against the Seahawks this week, Wilson needs to be a priority add off of this week's waivers. And hell, with the Niners running back injury history in mind, you may as well pick up Jordan Mason and TDP while you're at it. Maybe kick the tires on Frank Gore in case they bring him out of retirement to fill in. In all seriousness though, despite the fact that we'll likely see a lot of running from Deebo Samuel and Trey Lance, Jeff Wilson Jr. is a quality back and worth your number 1 ad this week, as he is the only running back on the list who will be a clear-cut starter over the next couple months. If you can afford to pick up Mason or TDP as well, I'd stash them, because we know the 49ers go through running backs like the Kardashians go through husbands. A healthy starting running back who's worth a damn is hard to come by, so don't let him get away. Pick him up, or you'll be sorry when he's helping your league mate put the Spurs to you. So that's it for the top 10, but I've got a laundry list of honorable mentions here. First off, the QBs. Yeah, I know I didn't put any on the list. That's because there's so many to choose from right now, you're likely to pick up someone good off your waiver wire. The guys that pick it up the most are Davis Mills, Jameis Winston, Carson Wentz, and Marcus Mariota. A lot of us knew that Mills was going to be a pretty good guy coming into the season because we saw what he could do last season. Worth a pickup if you need him. Haynes and Wentz, they're so inconsistent that you're going to be tearing your hair out every week trying to figure out which one to start. So I actually like Mariota over them. He's a mobile quarterback and he picks up all his fantasy points on the ground. He didn't even throw a touchdown this past week, but he was still a fantasy viable quarterback, and he'll have better weeks. So until Desmond Ridder takes over, Mariota could be a guy that you could fill in for Dak Prescott. Now, if you want to roll the dice with Matt Ryan or Jameis Winston or Carson's cavalcade of crap, be my guest. But if you need a replacement for Dak, you're going to want consistent fantasy points, and that's what a mobile quarterback can get you. Oh, and Cooper Rush? Yeah, he could be a pickup at 2 QB leagues, especially if you're a Dak owner. Khalil Herbert would be the number 11 on this list if I had one. And if you're a Monty owner, he becomes priority just behind Jeff Wilson. Herbert could end up being the guy there. I was saying this in the offseason. I got a lot of people scoffing at me, but I went ahead and took him in the last round as one of my sleepers, while the rest of my league mates looked at me like I was on goofballs. But I know better. Check and see if Isaiah McKenzie is available in your league. If he is, pick him up. He's available in less than 50% of leagues, so chances are he's gone. But just in case, take a look. Donovan Peoples-Jones? I'm just not buying it yet. Same thing with Jarvis Landry, Robbie Anderson, Sterling Shepard, Kenny Gainwell, Greg Dortch, and Zay Jones. I'm gonna wait and see on these guys, but they could be on the list in the future. Look out for them. O.J. Howard pulls this shit every season. He's got one game where he gets like 2 touchdowns, and everyone thinks, oh, he's finally arrived. And then he shits in our Cheerios for the rest of the season. Not falling for it again. Fuck that. I like Tyler Boyd until Higgins comes back, but Higgins could be back as soon as this week, so I don't know. Isaiah Pacheco. He could be the actual real deal here if it wasn't for the fact that CEH is finally looking like the star we all thought at one point he could be. Although we've shown this before and we've fallen for it just to fall flat on our fucking faces. But for now, it looks like CEH finally remembered how to play football. If you own Clyde, go pick up Pacheco. He could be one of the more valuable handcuffs for this season. With Keenan Allen out, Josh Palmer and DeAndre Carter become very interesting. They're both going to get extra work, but I'm picking up Palmer personally because he's already one of the starting wide receivers. We've seen what he can do when he gets the ball last season. If they do the hot hand situation here, I think Palmer ends up winning out in the end. But don't sleep on Carter. He could get some good work too. And finally, Dontrell Hilliard. Here's the thing, guys, alright? A lot of other analysts have him as a priority pickup. Not me. I'll tell you why. Remember when everyone was on Jeremy McNichols as the replacement when King Henry went down last season? Yeah, everyone expected him to be the guy Except me, I knew better. Because I knew, just like Hilliard, he's the pass-catching back. He's not the replacement for King Henry. Last season, when all the other analysts were talking about McNichols, I seemed to be the only one who was talking about Deontay Foreman. And guess what? I was right. McNichols didn't do shit, and Foreman was the guy. Now let's also take a look at the Browns last season. Because when Chubb and Hunt went down, everyone was all over Hilliard's jock. But it turned out it was Dearness Johnson who was getting more attention. Why? Because Dearness Johnson played the Chubb role, while Hilliard played the pass-catching back role like Hunt. Put those two stories together and figure out Hilliard's not going to be worth it. If King Henry goes down, it's going to be Hassan Haskins who takes over that role. Now Hilliard could still be a quality add in deep leagues, as he will have a role as a pass-catching back on a team with one of the lowest-rated wide receiver cores in the league, so he could get some attention. He'd probably be like the number 12 or 13 on this list. But until I see more, I've got some players ahead of him. Well, that's it, freaks. Now get out there and make those waiver claims. Good luck getting these guys. And if you're in a fab league and you want to know how much of your fab I think each guy's worth, click on the link below to my Patreon page. Sign up with me, and for as little as $5 a month, you get the one-on-one advice, bonus content, free entries into contests, and much more. Plus, I'll let you know each and every week about how much of your fab I think each guy's worth. $5 a month, that's less than one trip to Starbucks or Dutch Brothers, whichever you like, Black Rock, Tim Hortons for my Canadian friends. Regardless, for less than one of those coffees, you get me as your own pocket guru. So sign up today, smash that like button, subscribe so we can get to that double grand prize giveaway once we hit 1,000 subscribers. Share with everyone you know, and ring that bell so you don't miss a show. And I'll see you all Thursday evening for my Thursday night football benches and bumps. Until then, I'm out. Peace.